What if I told you that the very thing you are running from is the doorway to the life you've been praying for? What if the discomfort, the heartbreak, the awkward conversations, the shame you try to silence, what if that is the path, let me tell you the first truth, that will change how you see life forever? You cannot skip pain and still expect to experience deep joy. We live in a world obsessed with numbing. We numb with work, with scrolling, with food, with perfectionism, with pretending we're fine. We think if we can just avoid discomfort, we'll finally feel safe. But here's the truth. When you numb pain, you numb everything. You don't get selective anesthesia. You don't get to shut off grief without dimming love. You don't get to silence fear without muting courage. The most wholehearted people I've ever studied are not the ones avoid falling apart. They are the ones who allow themselves to feel it fully. They cry, they rage, they sit in uncertainty, and they come out more alive. Pain is not proof that you're failing. It's proof that you're showing up. It's evidence that you dared to care. Stop asking, how do I avoid getting hurt? Start asking, how do I stay brave when it hurts? That shift alone will change everything. Let me give you the second truth that will radically transform how you see your life. Vulnerability is not weakness. It is the birthplace of courage, connection, and creativity. Somewhere along the way, we learned that strength means armor, that being strong means not crying, not asking for help, not admitting we're scared. We learned to equate vulnerability with fragility. But here's what I've discovered after years of research. The people who live the most courageous lives are not the ones who hide. They are the ones who say, this is hard. They are the ones who risk rejection, who say, I love you first, who admit, I don't know, who ask, can you help me? Vulnerability feels terrifying because it opens us to uncertainty, and we hate uncertainty. We want guarantees, we want control. But love doesn't come with guarantees. Creativity doesn't come with guarantees. Leadership doesn't come with guarantees. Every meaningful moment in your life requires vulnerability, falling in love, starting a business, apologizing, forgiving, setting a boundary, dreaming big. You cannot have courage without vulnerability. They are not opposites. They are twins. The next time you feel exposed, shaky, unsure, don't label it as weakness. Recognize it for what it is. You are standing at the edge of growth. And growth always feels like this. Here is the third truth that will change your life if you let it. Fitting in is the opposite of belonging. Most of us spend years, decades, trying to shift ourselves into what we think will be accepted. We edit our opinions. We soften our voice. We laugh when something isn't funny. We hide parts of our story because we're afraid they're too much or not enough. But here's the painful irony. When you twist yourself to fit in, you may gain approval, but you lose yourself. Belonging is not about being accepted for who you pretend to be. It's about being seen for who you actually are, messy, imperfect, evolving, and deciding that you are worthy of connection anyway. True belonging doesn't require you to change your shape. It requires you to stand in your truth, even when your voice shakes. And let me tell you something hard the moment you stop performing and start showing up authentically. Some people will walk away. They were only connected to the mask. Let them go. Because the right people, the ones who are meant to walk beside you, cannot find you if you keep hiding. Stop asking, who do I need to be to belong? Start asking, can I belong to myself first? When you answer yes to that, everything shifts. Here's the fourth truth, and this one is powerful enough to rewrite your entire inner world. Shame cannot survive being spoken. Shame is that voice that whispers, you're not good enough. It says, if they really knew you, they would leave. It tells you to hide, to shrink, to stay quiet. And the most dangerous thing about shame is that it feels intensely personal. It convinces you that you are the only one who struggles like this, the only one who failed, the only one who isn't measuring up, but shame's oxygen is secrecy. The moment you say, I'm struggling, the moment you say, I feel like I messed this up, the moment you whisper to someone you trust, I'm not okay, shame begins to lose its grip. Because when someone looks at you and says, me too, the lie collapses. You are not flawed beyond repair. You are human, and being human is beautifully imperfect. But healing requires risk. It requires you to choose courage over concealment. It requires you to believe that your story deserves to be heard, not polished, not perfected, just told. You don't have to broadcast your pain to the world, but you do need safe connection. You do need one brave conversation. Your voice is not the problem. Your silence is. And the moment you speak your truth, you take your power back. Here's the fifth truth. And this one is both terrifying and liberating. You are not in control, and you were never meant to be. We exhaust ourselves trying to manage outcomes. We overthink conversations that haven't happened yet. We replay the past like we can edit it. We try to anticipate every possible disappointment so we won't be blindsided. We call it being responsible, prepared, strategic. But underneath all of it is fear. The fear of uncertainty, the fear of loss, the fear of being hurt. Here's what I've learned: control is a shield. And like every shield, it keeps things out, but it also keeps you in. You cannot control whether someone stays. You cannot control whether you fail. You cannot control how people perceive you. You cannot control what tomorrow brings. What you can control is your response, your integrity, your willingness to show up fully even when there are no guarantees. Freedom begins the moment you stop trying to engineer certainty and start practicing trust. Trust in yourself, trust in your resilience, trust in your ability to survive disappointment, because you've survived before more than you give yourself credit for. Let go of the illusion that control equals safety. Real safety comes from knowing whatever happens, I will handle it. That is power. Here's the sixth truth, and it might sting a little. Perfectionism is not about high standards. It's about fear. We love to dress it up. We call it ambition, discipline, drive. But if you listen closely to the voice of perfectionism, it doesn't say, do your best. It says, if you are not flawless, you are unworthy. That is not excellence. That is shame with a productivity badge. Perfectionism whispers, don't try unless you know you'll win. It says, don't speak unless you're certain you're right. It convinces you that mistakes are proof of inadequacy rather than evidence of growth. And here's the cost. You play small, you delay dreams, you over-prepare and under-live. You measure your worth by outcomes instead of effort. Excellence is healthy. It says, I will show up, I will work hard, I will learn. Perfectionism says, if I fail, I am the failure. Do you hear the difference? The bravest people I know are not flawless. They are willing to be seen trying. They risk criticism. They release the project before it feels perfect. They understand that growth is messy and deeply uncomfortable. Perfectionism promises protection from judgment. What it actually delivers is paralysis. You are allowed to be a masterpiece and a work in progress at the same time. When you release the need to be perfect, you finally give yourself permission to be powerful. Here is the seventh truth. And this one will change how you see heartbreak forever. The people who hurt you are often the ones who reveal you to yourself. Disappointment feels like betrayal. It feels like the ground dropping beneath your feet. You trusted, you hoped, you believed. And then something cracked. And in that crack, something powerful is revealed. When someone lets you down, you are forced to confront your boundaries. You are forced to ask, what am I willing to tolerate? You are forced to see the difference between love and attachment, between loyalty and self-abandonment. Painful relationships are mirrors. They reflect where you overgive, where you stay silent, where you betray your own needs just to keep the peace. And here's the hard part. Sometimes we are more committed to potential than to reality. We fall in love with who someone could be instead of who they consistently show us they are. Disappointment is not just loss, it is clarity. It teaches you that you deserve consistency, respect, emotional safety. It teaches you that love without boundaries is self-destruction. The people who walk away or who force you to walk away are not just endings. They are turning points. They don't break you. They refine you. And if you're willing to learn instead of harden, every heartbreak becomes wisdom. Here's the eighth truth, and it's deceptively simple, yet profoundly powerful gratitude is not a polite habit. It's a radical act of courage. Why? Because life is messy, unfair, and often downright brutal. It challenges you, knocks you down, and steals moments you thought were yours forever. Gratitude doesn't deny that pain. It doesn't pretend things are perfect. It sees the struggle, the mess, the heartbreak, and still says, I notice what is still good. I notice what is still mine. I notice the gifts hiding in plain sight. Gratitude rewires the way you see your life. It shifts you from scarcity to abundance, from fear to presence, from bitterness to curiosity, from feeling small to feeling alive. And here's the kicker: when you cultivate gratitude in the hardest moments, you train your nervous system to find resilience in adversity. You begin to notice opportunities, relationships, and even yourself in a new light. It is not about pretending everything is fine. It is about reclaiming your power over your attention. It is about deciding where your mind rests. Even when life tries to pull you into despair, start small. Notice the coffee warming your hands, the voice that says, I love you, the sky at dusk, the breath in your chest. These tiny moments are not insignificant. They are lifelines. Gratitude is a muscle, and the more you exercise it, the stronger your life becomes. Here's the ninth truth, and it will shake the way you define bravery. Courage is not one grand heroic act. It is not a moment in the spotlight. It is not waiting until fear disappears. Courage is showing up every day, even when your hands shake, even when your heart races, even when the world seems too heavy to bear. Bravery is whispered in small choices, saying no when your gut screams it, speaking your truth when silence feels safer, asking for help when pride wants to keep you isolated. It's in standing alone when the crowd pressures you to conform. It's in vulnerability, in letting yourself be seen fully, in daring to feel even when it hurts. Every day, you are faced with decisions that challenge your comfort. That's where courage lives. In the ordinary, in the unseen, in the quiet defiance of fear. And the more you practice it, the more expansive your life becomes. You start to notice that fear is not an enemy, it's a compass. Fear points to the areas where growth, love, and joy are waiting. Courage doesn't guarantee safety, it guarantees aliveness. It guarantees that you are not living on autopilot, numbing out, or letting life slip through your fingers. The brave do not wait until they are ready. They are ready because they decide to show up anyway. And every time you choose courage, you reclaim a piece of your power, your voice, your life. Here is the final truth. The one that ties everything together: life is short. Brutally short. And the truth is, none of us know how many days we have left. Every moment wasted pretending, hiding, numbing, or fearing is a moment stolen from the life that's calling you. You have everything you need to live fully right now: your heart, your courage, your vulnerability, your voice. Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting until the fear fades. Stop waiting for the perfect conditions that will never arrive. The only condition you need is this: choose to show up as yourself. Live in a way that honors your story, the joy, the pain, the mistakes, the growth. Speak your truth. Set your boundaries. Love boldly. Fail spectacularly. Rise again. Celebrate the small victories. Notice the beauty that surrounds you. Your life is not meant to be a rehearsal. It is meant to be lived messy, imperfect, raw, and brilliant. And when you embrace these truths, something miraculous happens. You stop living for approval. You stop hiding from fear, and you start dancing with the full spectrum of human experience. Here's the closing reality: the world doesn't need a perfect version of you. It needs you, all of you. The parts that hurt, the parts that shine, the parts that dream and fail and rise again. So stand tall, speak boldly, love fiercely, and live with a heart wide open, because this life right here, right now, is yours to claim. Those are the 5 truths. Live them, breathe them, and watch how your life transforms.